Most people are waiting for a lightning bolt of motivation to strike them before they start. But here's the cold, uncomfortable truth. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable liars. Success is not built on how you feel. It's built on what you do when you feel like doing absolutely nothing. Let's get something straight right now. We live in the most information-rich era in human history. Never before have so many books, podcasts, videos, courses, and experts been available at the top of a screen. You can learn how to build a business, get in shape, master a skill, or reinvent your life without ever leaving your couch. And yet, look around. Anxiety is up. Confusion is everywhere. More people feel stuck, lost, and unfulfilled than ever before. How is that possible? It's not because people lack knowledge. It's because they lack discipline. We have become a culture obsessed with shortcuts, 6-minute abs, overnight crypto millionaires, viral fame without mastery. We want results without process, rewards without sacrifice, and success without discomfort. But reality does not negotiate. The universe does not reward intention, it rewards behavior. And discipline is the invisible force that translates intention into results. Discipline is not sexy. It doesn't trend. It doesn't give you dopamine hits or instant validation. But it is the fundamental law that governs every meaningful outcome in life. Strip away the noise, the hype, and the motivational slogans, and you'll find one common denominator behind every great achievement: disciplined action, repeated long after the excitement wears off. The problem is that most people misunderstand discipline entirely. They think discipline is about willpower, intensity, or forcing yourself to do extreme things. They think it's something you either have or don't have, some genetic gift reserved for elite performers. That's a myth. Discipline is not a personality trait. It's a system, and like any system, it can be built, trained, and strengthened. But before you can build discipline, you need one thing most people are terrified of: brutal self-awareness. You cannot change what you refuse to confront. You cannot fix a life you haven't honestly examined. Everyone loves a comeback story, but nobody wants to do the uncomfortable audit that makes a comeback possible. We like to tell ourselves stories about how hard we work, how busy we are, how tired we feel. But busyness is not productivity, and exhaustion is often just the symptom of a life without direction. If you want control over your future, you must first take inventory of your present. That means performing a real-life audit, not the vague mental version you do in your head, but a concrete written record of how you actually spend your time. Most people live on autopilot. They wake up late, hit snooze multiple times, scroll for hours, react to emails, consume content endlessly, and collapse at night wondering why they feel drained and dissatisfied. They don't lack energy, they lack a map. Here's a fact that is impossible to argue with. Every human being on this planet gets 168 hours each week. It doesn't matter if you're Elon Musk, Oprah Winfrey, or someone barely scraping by. The number is the same. The difference is not time, it's discipline. Discipline is how you allocate those hours. Discipline is deciding, in advance, what matters and refusing to let distractions steal your future in 5-minute increments. When you track your time honestly, something unsettling happens. You stop lying to yourself. You realize that it's not just time you're losing, it's opportunity, momentum, and legacy. Every hour wasted is a silent vote for the life you claim you don't want. And that realization is uncomfortable. Good. Discomfort is the price of clarity. Once you see reality clearly, the next trap appears, trying to change everything at once. This is where most people fail. We think big, so we start big. We go from zero to extreme overnight, from no exercise to marathon training, from chaos to rigid routines, from comfort to overload. And when the system collapses, as it always does, we conclude that we just aren't disciplined. That conclusion is wrong.
Discipline is not built through massive, dramatic change. It's built through small, consistent victories. Discipline is a muscle, and like any muscle, it grows under progressive load, not sudden strain. You don't walk into a gym and bench press 300 pounds on your first day. You start with the bar, you learn the movement, you build capacity. The same principle applies to your life. If you want to wake up 2 hours earlier every day, don't set your alarm for 5 a.m. tomorrow. That's not discipline. That's self-sabotage disguised as ambition. Set it for 6:45, then 6:30, then 6:15. Win small. Stack those wins. Discipline grows when your brain learns one powerful lesson. I do what I say I'm going to do. This is the core of the micro-win strategy. Consistency beats intensity every time. A drop of water can carve a canyon, not because of force, but because of persistence. The goal is not to impress yourself for a week. The goal is to build a system you can sustain when motivation disappears, which it always does. And make no mistake, motivation will disappear. Motivation is unreliable. It's emotional. It shows up when conditions are perfect and vanishes the moment things get uncomfortable. Motivation is like a toxic partner, exciting when everything is easy, absent when you need it most. If your life depends on motivation, your progress will always be fragile. Discipline, on the other hand, is boring, predictable, unemotional. Discipline is the commitment to do the work regardless of how you feel. It's the quiet agreement you make with your future self to show up even when there's no applause, no validation, and no immediate reward. One of the simplest and most powerful tools for bypassing the motivation trap is the 5-minute rule. When you don't feel like doing something, working out, writing, studying, making the call, tell yourself you'll do it for just 5 minutes. That's it. No pressure, no heroics. Why does this work? Because the hardest part of any task is not the task itself, it's starting. Once the shoes are on, the resistance drops, momentum takes over. Most of the time, 5 minutes turns into 30, but even if it doesn't, you still win because you kept the promise, and keeping promises to yourself is how discipline is born. As discipline grows, you gain access to a rare and increasingly powerful advantage, delayed gratification. We live in an instant gratification culture. Everything is designed to be fast, easy, and stimulating. Likes, notifications, one-click purchases, skip buttons. Our brains are being trained to crave immediacy and avoid effort. The problem is that the most meaningful outcomes in life are slow. They take time. They demand patience. A strong body is built through months of training and restraint. A successful business is built through years of uncertainty and sacrifice. A deep, fulfilling relationship is built through consistency, communication, and compromise. None of these things can be rushed. They all require the ability to say no to what feels good now in order to say yes to what matters later. This is why delayed gratification is such a powerful predictor of success. The famous marshmallow experiment didn't prove that successful people are smarter. It showed that they are better at waiting, better at tolerating discomfort, better at prioritizing the future over the present moment. Every day, you are faced with a choice: comfort now or progress later. That choice rarely looks dramatic. It looks like scrolling instead of planning, eating instead of training, sleeping instead of building, avoiding instead of confronting. Small decisions repeated daily quietly shape your destiny. Discipline is the skill of choosing the future again and again, even when the present is tempting you to quit. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. No one is coming to save you. No surge of motivation is going to transform your life. No hack, trick, or secret is going to bypass the work. The life you want is built on the days you don't feel like showing up and show up anyway. Discipline is not punishment. It's self-respect. It's the decision to stop negotiating with your lower impulses and start honoring your higher standards. It's choosing order over chaos, direction over drift, and long-term meaning over short-term pleasure. When you master discipline, everything else becomes simpler. Decisions become clearer. Progress becomes predictable. Confidence becomes grounded, not inflated by hype. You stop chasing feelings and start building results. And that is the real genetic code of success. Not motivation, not talent, not luck, but disciplined action, executed quietly, consistently, and relentlessly over time.
If you want to know where you'll be in 5 years, look at two things: the people you spend time with and the energy you give away. You are the average of the 5 people you spend time with most, and if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Success is never built in isolation. That's the lie most people believe, that if they just work harder, grind longer, and push themselves enough, everything will eventually fall into place. But discipline, effort, and personal mastery are only half the equation. What most people ignore is the ecosystem they are operating inside. And ecosystems either amplify your growth or quietly suffocate it. You don't rise to the level of your ambition, you fall to the level of your environment. Your habits, your thinking, your standards, and even your emotional state are constantly shaped by the people around you and the conditions you allow to influence you. This is not motivational talk, it's biology, psychology, and physics working together. Just like a plant cannot thrive in toxic soil, you cannot build an extraordinary life inside a dysfunctional ecosystem. The moment you understand this, everything changes. You stop blaming motivation, you stop fighting yourself, and you start designing a life where success becomes the natural outcome instead of a constant uphill battle. One of the most underestimated forces in this ecosystem is gratitude. In Western culture, we are taught to chase relentlessly, hustle harder, want more, be dissatisfied because dissatisfaction supposedly fuels progress. But what no one tells you is that chronic dissatisfaction keeps your brain trapped in survival mode. When you focus obsessively on what's missing, your nervous system stays on high alert. Creativity shuts down, strategic thinking disappears. You become reactive instead of visionary. Gratitude is not weakness, it is not complacency. Gratitude is a tactical advantage. When you practice genuine gratitude, your brain chemistry changes, stress hormones drop, clarity increases. You begin to see opportunities that angry, bitter, chronically dissatisfied people are completely blind to. Gratitude shifts you from scarcity to abundance, from fear to possibility. It allows you to build from a place of strength instead of desperation. The irony is this: people who are never satisfied rarely enjoy their success when it arrives. If you can't appreciate where you are now, you won't appreciate where you're going. The finish line will always move. That's why the habit of gratitude is not about lowering your standards, it's about stabilizing your foundation. Starting each morning by acknowledging 3 things you're genuinely thankful for is not a feel-good ritual, it's mental conditioning. It's training your mind to operate from clarity instead of chaos. Equally misunderstood in the success ecosystem is rest. In America, burnout is worn like a badge of honor. Being busy is confused with being important. Exhaustion is mistaken for productivity. But being constantly drained is not proof of commitment, it's proof of poor strategy. A dull axe does not cut more wood by swinging harder, it cuts more wood by being sharpened. Rest is not laziness, rest is maintenance. It is the strategic pause that allows performance to compound instead of collapse. The most effective people in the world understand that recovery is part of the work. They protect their energy with the same discipline they protect their time. True rest, however, is not numbing yourself with screens or distractions. That's not recovery, that's avoidance. Deep rest is intentional. It's silence, it's solitude, it's nature, it's sleep without guilt.
It's giving your subconscious mind the space to integrate, reorganize, and solve problems your conscious mind cannot brute force. When you rest properly, clarity emerges, decisions sharpen, creativity returns, momentum becomes sustainable. Burnout, on the other hand, makes even small problems feel overwhelming. You don't need more pressure, you need better rhythms. Another critical element of a powerful ecosystem is communication, specifically the rare and disappearing skill of deep listening. Most people do not listen to understand, they listen to respond. While someone else is talking, they are already loading their argument, preparing their defense, waiting for their turn to speak. That kind of listening builds walls, not trust. Deep listening is different. Deep listening is presence. It is attention without interruption. It is the ability to set aside your ego long enough to truly hear what someone is saying, and more importantly, what they are not saying. This skill alone can transform marriages, friendships, leadership, and business. When you listen deeply, you uncover hidden needs, you understand motivations, you gain insight that no tactic or persuasion trick can replace. People feel seen, they feel respected, and trust grows naturally. In a world addicted to distraction, attention has become the most valuable currency. Giving someone your full attention is one of the most powerful signals of respect you can offer, and people do business, build relationships, and commit long-term loyalty to those they trust. Trust is not built by talking more, it's built by listening better. Patience is another non-negotiable pillar of success ecosystem. We live in a microwave culture that expects results instantly. If progress isn't visible fast enough, we assume something is wrong. We quit, we pivot, we abandon the process before it has time to work. But success does not operate on short timelines. It operates on biological and natural laws. Think of bamboo. For years, nothing appears above the ground, no visible progress, no measurable growth. But beneath the surface, an extensive root system is forming, preparing to support massive expansion. Then, seemingly overnight, bamboo shoots upward at an astonishing rate. Most people quit during the underground phase. They don't see results, so they assume effort is wasted. They don't get validation, so they doubt the path. They mistake silence for failure. But the silent phase is where the real work is happening. Skills are being built, character is forming, capacity is expanding. If you quit too early, you never reach the phase where growth becomes visible and momentum accelerates. Patience is not passive, it is disciplined trust in the process. It is showing up consistently without needing constant proof that it's working. Your environment plays a decisive role in whether patience is possible or impossible. You cannot fly with eagles if you are surrounded by turkeys. This is harsh, but it's true. Your standards are shaped by what you tolerate. If the people around you normalize mediocrity, excuses, and negativity, resisting that influence will eventually exhaust you. This is why upgrading your circle is one of the most difficult and necessary decisions you will ever make. It requires honesty. It requires boundaries. Sometimes it requires distance from people you've known for years. Ask yourself hard questions. Who drains your energy? Who reinforces your worst habits? Who mocks growth, discipline, or ambition? And on the other side, who challenges you? Who inspires you? Who raises the standard just by how they live? Seek out mentors who are several steps ahead of you. Their normal will recalibrate your expectations. When excellence becomes the baseline in your environment, you rise to meet it, not because you're forced to, but because anything less feels out of place. Finally, no ecosystem of success is complete without contribution. This is the piece many people overlook. They chase achievement, recognition, and wealth, believing fulfillment will come afterwards. But fulfillment does not come from accumulation alone. It comes from contribution. You cannot live a full life with a closed fist. Giving is not just about money, it's about time, knowledge, attention, and presence. When you share what you have, you create flow. When you help others grow, your own growth accelerates. This is not mystical thinking, it's relational economics. Value circulates. People who focus only on taking eventually feel empty no matter how much they accumulate. People who give strategically and generously experience a deeper sense of meaning. Success without contribution feels hollow. Success with contribution becomes legacy. When you step back and look at the full picture, your future stops feeling mysterious. It becomes mathematical. Inputs produce outputs. Habits compound. Environments shape outcomes. You don't need a miracle. You need structure. You need intentional habits. You need to protect your energy, upgrade your circle, master patience, and give without keeping score. Great lives are not built through dramatic breakthroughs. They are built through small, disciplined decisions executed daily inside a well-designed ecosystem. Start where you are. Make the first adjustment. Change one habit. Have one honest conversation.